Let me now, in fact, open this up to my other guests who join me right here in the studios. Ashok Sajanar, former diplomat, is with us. Tara Karta is also former director. NSCS is with us, and also with us is Major General Bishambar Dayal, defense expert. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here. Very, very shortly, we are going to be seeing the Prime Minister as he has touched down. Very important visit, as we have been discussing with our broadcast partners there in Israel. How do you see this visit and this point that Caleb was making about how, particularly at this time where there is a lot of volatility in the Middle East, Prime Minister Narendra Modi choosing to be there? Ambassador Sajanar.
Yeah, thank you very much, Griha, for having me on the show. You're very right. I think the timing is very significant, and it really emphasizes and underlines, the foreign policy, the strategic autonomy that India is observing as far as its foreign policy is concerned. So we know really that there is, as far as Israel is concerned, it's not in the best or on the best of terms with all the international partners. Of course, the United States, as your guest mentioned, that relationship is very strong, very vibrant. But as far as many of the other countries, whether it is Europe is concerned, France, Germany, even as far as Russia, China, or even...
Ambassador Sajanar, while you're making that point, we are getting those live visuals, and very, very shortly we are going to see the Prime Minister. Allow me to get in our colleague who is very much present in Tel Aviv. Sanjay Suri is joining us on the broadcast. Sanjay, shortly we'll see the Prime Minister. He's landed. Just tell us the mood around there and how the Israeli Prime Minister, along with his wife, we are told, is very much present there to in fact greet Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Well, it's a personally warm environment. It's politically warm, politically close. But this visit, just look at the program, and that spells the urgency and the immediacy of what the two leaders are seeking to take forward. The Prime Minister of India has just landed. He'll be here for just about 24 hours. And through that period, he has 3 meetings with Prime Minister Netanyahu. The first right here at the airport where he's arrived. That is straight. It's about a half-hour, 35-minute meeting. Following that, there will be a private dinner that Netanyahu will host for the Indian Prime Minister. That will be later this evening. And then tomorrow there will be delegation-level talks, which also Prime Minister Netanyahu will attend. So that's 3 meetings, and we can expect these to be very substantive meetings. The pleasantries, of course, are just a part of it. They are the enabling environment, but we can expect very substantive discussions to take place. And certainly, we are looking at some very specific outcomes by way of stepping up ties between the two countries.
Well, absolutely, Sanjay. We have our eyes particularly fixated there at the door as Prime Minister is about to disembark from that plane. And we will see that warm embrace with the Israeli Prime Minister that has become a usual whenever Prime Minister Narendra Modi meets with all the global leaders. Caleb Ben David from ILTV News is also with us, and he too is taking us through every development that's happening there in Tel Aviv. Caleb, very, very shortly, we will see the first images of the Prime Ministers, and we were discussing about how significant this particular visit and this pull aside that the Israeli Prime Minister is also going to be having right there at the airport, and you were mentioning that earlier. So before we see Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the screens, as the live shots have constantly been cut for our viewers, more on that part.
Yes, and I have to say, I can't really think of another world leader, certainly of the stature of Prime Minister Modi, that Prime Minister Netanyahu has such a warm rapport with on a personal level. The only other one I can think of, his relationship with President Trump is, of course, the most critical one for Israel, but that is a complicated relationship. But in terms of just the personal warmth between them, I would say Prime Minister Modi of India. The only other one I could really put in that category would be the President of Argentina, Javier Milei, who's also very supportive of Israel. But the special relationship that these two men have, it'll be interesting to see. I spoke earlier on your network about this. Last time when Prime Minister Modi was here, they took, I think, an unscheduled trip to the beach And we had these,
Yes.
I would say, iconic images of the two leaders actually there on the surf in Tel Aviv by themselves there on the beach. And that was kind of unprecedented, unscripted
So are we
moment.
expecting those leisurely photo ops in this particular trip of his as well? Because we constantly are talking about how historic this becomes. He becomes the first Indian Prime Minister to ever address the Israeli parliament. So while we're talking about those historic firsts, one must also talk about the kind of camaraderie that the two leaders share, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Right. I think it's going to be a little more difficult in this visit for those kind of moments because, as your other guest said, it's a very tight schedule, basically just 24 hours. It's packed from 1 minute to the next. We're going to go straight from here to the airport, to the Israeli parliament, the Knesset. Again, very unusual for a foreign leader to address the Israeli parliament, the Knesset. President Trump, most recently, the only leaders that got that honor were President Trump. Of course, when the Gaza war ended, and the president of Argentina, I mentioned, Javier Milei, also getting that honor. So very unusual. From there, they're going to go to an innovation fair at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. So it's the dinner in the King David, more meetings tomorrow. So it is a very packed schedule, but we'll have to see. Both of these leaders are given to sort of spontaneous, sometimes unscripted moments. I know Prime Minister Modi especially. So perhaps we will see something like that.
All right. So let me, on that note, get in a word from our colleague Sanjay Suri, who is in fact with us from Jerusalem. And Sanjay, it's just about an hour from now on, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be landing in Jerusalem. And that's where that historic address really happens. Is he going to mention Iran? Because we've been constantly talking about this hexagonal alliance, which has been, in fact, spoken of right ahead of that visit by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Do you think that historic address will see the Prime Minister also making a mention of Iran?
You know, I have very poor credentials to second guess what the Indian Prime Minister is going to say, but it is unlikely.
Right. While you make that point,
that
Sanjay, let me also, in fact, put out these visuals for our viewers. We do see the Israeli Prime Minister pretty much there at the red carpet along with his wife. So very shortly, we will see Prime Minister Narendra Modi descending from that aircraft as Benjamin Netanyahu has marked his position there. So he is going to be there greeting the Indian Prime Minister as he lands. And those visuals coming to us very shortly. There is the Israeli and Indian flag that we see in the foreground, and the Israeli Prime Minister along with his wife also there, all set to meet with the Indian Prime Minister. So shortly we will see that expected warm embrace between the two leaders. Let's take a look at what is happening there at the Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv.
המשמר יציג את נשקו. המשמר יחטיף את נשקו. החטף, שקט! המשמר יחטיף את נשקו. החטף, שקט! המשמר יציג את נשקו. הצל, שקט! המשמר יעבור לנוח, עמוד נוח.
So the second visit of the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, very shortly you will see him on your screens, and there you see climbing onto the stairs for that big meeting with the Indian Prime Minister. We'll possibly see that the first images of the Prime Minister shortly. And we're also being told that this flight that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has taken to come to Israel has been the most tracked worldwide. An interesting fact that we also want to put out for our viewers, and that's how significant and how much of a chatter around this trip of Prime Minister Narendra Modi is really to Israel is globally, and that is something that one must also look at. You see the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu waiting for that arrival, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi very shortly, within the next few seconds, you'd see him at the door and then descending down the stairs. So a trip that is being touted to be rather historic, a second one by the Indian Prime Minister. First time ever an Indian Prime Minister is going to be addressing the Israeli Parliament, and all of this amid only chance and love for Bharat. And there you see Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He has arrived in Tel Aviv with a namaste, is how he's choosing to greet everybody waiting there, including the Israeli Prime Minister.
המשמר יעבור לדום. משמר, דום.
You see what you want? Look at the color.
Eli.
He's a wonderful leader. Welcome. We have a lot to go. We're going here.
Opa. לראות שלומי, לראות שידור חיפה.
She's like a tank.
We will walk now to the salute line for Prime Minister
החטף, צ'ק! המשמר ידגל את נשקו. דגל, צ'ק! משמר יחטיף את נשקו. החטף, צ'ק! אדוני ראש הממשלה, משמר כבוד של חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל ערוך ונכון לסקירתך. אדוני.
All right, so the personal touch is for all to see as heartwarming visuals, rather unprecedented visuals coming in from the Ben Gurion airport. As you can see, breaking away from protocol, Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel, accompanied by the First Lady, in fact, Sarah Netanyahu, where she also complimented a Prime Minister, and a Prime Minister, in fact, also touched upon the color connect between Sarah Netanyahu and Prime Minister Modi, talking about the saffron that both of them are wearing. Much can be read between the lines as far as that color and the deep-rooted symbolism of that color is concerned. Tracking all the latest and live details from ground is Sanjay Suri in Tel Aviv. I'm also joined in by our guests over here, who I will be going to in just a bit. But let me quickly bring in Sanjay for the latest ground details. Sanjay, heartwarming visuals, absolutely. The color was specifically mentioned by Prime Minister Modi to Sarah Netanyahu. What is one to make of this mention at the moment?
Well, the symbolism is there for us all to see, and we know that there are very warm relations between Prime Minister Netanyahu and Prime Minister Modi. There is a certain political outlook that is shared. There is a certain country situation that Israel is in, that India is in, and we all see the commonalities there. But certainly the visit now is underway, and it will seek to take ties between the two countries to a new level, and that's a sort of an expression we often hear when leaders meet. But this time we have very specific information and indicators that a lot is on the agenda that is very specific, that we will see unravel over the next 2 days, and then again we will see the consequences of that to follow in good course. So this is a visit that's set to firm up ties between India and Israel to a whole new level.
All right, stay with me. I'm also joined in by Ambassador Ashok Sajanhar, former diplomat, Tarakarta, former director, NSCS, and Major General Bishambir Dayal, who's a defense expert as well. Many thanks to all of you for joining in. Ambassador Sajanhar, if I could quickly bring you in, as somebody who's been tracking how this relationship has in fact built. Many say that diplomacy is also a result of the personal rapport and the bonhomie that leaders share. And that's exactly what's on display right now at the Ben Gurion airport. What's been your assessment in terms of how this bilateral relationship and the bonhomie between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Netanyahu has grown in the past decade?
Yes, thank you very much, Akansha, for having me. You're very right. I think when it is the personal rapport between the two leaders, it definitely acts as a catalyst or as a lubricant as far as the bilateral partnership is concerned. But underlying all that are national interests, and both the countries realize it. You know, meaning why did it take India, an Indian Prime Minister, 25 years after the establishment of diplomatic relations in 1992 to make the first visit to Israel? So it was definitely, there was some national interests which were perceived by the leadership in India at that time. But when Prime Minister Modi came, he decided to de-hyphenate the relationship with Israel and with Palestine. So while he visited Israel in 2017, as I said, 25 years after establishment of diplomatic relations, he was one of the very few leaders to have also traveled to Ramallah in 2018. So he did not hyphenate. It is not as if he's going to Israel now and Palestine along with it, so that, you know, there is an equivalence, there is a balance between the two. Not at all. He is taking it one by one. And then if I could come, if you permit, if I come to the present visit, meaning this also, the time for Israel is not a very happy one, because it has really been pushed into a corner. It's really been converted into a pariah state as far as the world is concerned.
All right.
You know, barring the United States, you look at Europe, you look at China, you look at Russia, you look at even prominent members of the global south, whether it is Brazil or it is South Africa. You know, they have all been railing against what Israel has been doing in Gaza in terms of the violence that has been perpetrated, in terms of the number of killings that have. But Prime Minister Modi, notwithstanding all that, and we have excellent relations with Brazil. We know that President Lula was in town just a few days ago.
This indeed is also a moment to celebrate India's strategic autonomy. And that's why I quickly want to go across to one of my very interesting friends. I'm joined in by Caleb Ben David, who's an anchor at ILTV News, is joining me live on the broadcast as well. Caleb, thank you for joining in. Pleasure to have you here on CNN News 18. Heartwarming visuals of Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Netanyahu meeting, along with Sarah Netanyahu. The interesting part over here is that both have a common connect, and that is the color saffron, something that Prime Minister Modi also spoke about. If we talk about the common connect right now, apart from the color saffron, what are the commonalities that unite Prime Minister Netanyahu and Prime Minister Modi?
I think there are very close political connections between the two. Both leaders are seen as perhaps being more assertive about national pride in their countries. They both draw on the traditional heritage, even religious heritages of their countries. Of course, Prime Minister Netanyahu with the Jewish heritage of Israel, and Prime Minister Modi the Hindu heritage of India. So they both occupy, in some ways, sort of the same aspect. They both are leaders who are trying to build regional alliances against, for example, the threat of radical Islamic terrorism, which is something that unites them and are being more assertive about it than for perhaps some other world leaders. In fact, I would even say part of this visit today is why it's so important for Israel and Prime Minister Netanyahu is Israel and Prime Minister Netanyahu politically trying to pivot Israel perhaps away somewhat from Europe, where Israel has been strongly connected with, and of course many of the European nations, as your previous guest just said, were very critical of Israel over the war in Gaza, and perhaps pivoting more towards Asia, in particularly towards India. So I think you have two leaders really cut from the same mold here, perhaps in some ways a little controversial in sort of the world political stage, but certainly you could see a lot of similarities. It was no coincidence that Sarah Netanyahu, who is very much of, they're a team. We should say this. It's not usual in world leaders, but the Prime Minister's wife always accompanies him on official trips and in gatherings like this. No coincidence she wore that saffron color. She was sending a message of solidarity, not just with India, but with Prime Minister Modi and, of course, his political party especially. So there is definitely a connection here.
Absolutely.
Such a strong
and
connection.
Kalev, I'm sure you'll agree that the color is the symbolism of the commonalities that both the countries share, both the leaders share, which is why I want to quickly bring in Major General Dayal also on that note. Major General Dayal, as we speak, just hours ago, a joint working group meet on counterterrorism between the Indian and the Israeli side concluded. Terrorism is one issue that both countries have borne the brunt of. How do you think India and Israel can not just stand in solidarity, but work towards eliminating the menace of terrorism after October 7 and after Pahalgam especially?
Thank you, Akanksha. Let me just give you a little bit background coming to terrorism. You see, it's the timing which is most important, as everybody is bringing out, but it is not only the standoff between US and Iran today and involvement of Israel directly, and also not what is happening in West Bank and what pending issue of the Gaza. But today you must understand that last year there have been two very strategic agreements in this region. West Asia has got four major military powers after the degradation of Iraq and Syria. And these are Israel, Iran, Saudi Arabia. These are three, and Turkey, which is Eurasia or Asia, Turkey, which is part of it. Last year, Pak-China has had an agreement with Saudi Arabia. Last year, Pak-China has an agreement with Turkey, and there is a trilateral with Azerbaijan. In this context, when you look at it, then, like Mr. Sajjanar said, somewhere Israel was lone. Somewhere India needs its strategic partnership to be upgraded. Terrorism is very, I would say today, terrorism is on the wane across the world. Even here, if you see, the terrorism in our valley, the militancy is not what it was in 90s or what was it in the early 2000s. So there we have succeeded already. We have got information exchange mechanism. We have got, the key terrorists, we identify both the countries. We have got already a setup which will only be upgraded. So terrorism jointly, I think in there, America also plays a part in it. So that's a very little part of it achievement. Right. The main thing is, important is the signaling and messaging at this time. This is the most important part. We are sending a message to a number of countries. This visit by the head of state of India, by the Prime Minister of India, is sending a very, very different message which will have a deeper implication.
In fact, the message was sent out during Operation Sindoor as well. Tarak Artha, would you like to weigh in on that? Because much of intel sharing happened between India and Israel, which helped India successfully eliminate those terror camps in Pakistan. And if we were to weigh in on the messaging part of this, take it forward when we talk about how India and Israel are looking towards forging this strategic partnership, rather strengthening it further.
I think the main messaging has come across from the news I just saw, that Pakistan Senate has passed a resolution against the India's visit, India and Israel coming together. So they are obviously very upset about that. The terrorism connect is very real because, for Israel, it is a daily problem. They've suffered from this for decades. And we've also suffered. So that empathy between the two countries on the costs which has been imposed on us due to terrorism is very, very real. And I've seen this. Post Sindoor, of course, our own cooperation has gone up. The kind of systems that we rely on are Israeli. I mean, much of those things, spice, all of that is Israeli weapon systems. So we need these now as soon as possible, because I would marginally disagree. I don't think terrorism is over at all. True, it's not over. It is going to, one second.
In fact, it's evolving.
Yes, you're going to see new forms of it, so we need all the help we can get.
I think that's a very critical point Tara's just now made. Kalev, would you like to weigh in on that? How does one tackle terrorism in an age when we are seeing it evolve daily? Because it's also taking forms of, say, cyber forms, where we are looking at times when cyber terrorism is happening. Here in India, we are talking about or dealing with the menace of how hiring is happening online as well. So here you're looking at even intel sharing, which will play a very critical role. How will India and Israel look towards eliminating terror infrastructure, address the menace of money laundering? And we cannot do it without, say, European powers like France and the FATF, which must call out the role that's being played by countries like Pakistan, which are a safe haven for terrorists.
Well, let me bring up another point about Pakistan, because we have seen in recent years a growing alliance, in particular between Pakistan and Turkey. This is a sort of access of a hardline, may say Sunni, a Muslim alliance, trying also to bring in Saudi Arabia. And we saw Turkey has increasingly aided Pakistan, including during Operation Sindoor, and really the building up the India-Israeli alliance is a sort of counter to that. And of course, there is an ambition to increase this beyond in the region, among more moderate states and beyond even. So that's one crucial aspect. And as your other guest mentioned, Israeli technology, certainly air defense technology, was very important during Operation Sindoor, showed how important air defense, basically that's the game now in security. And of course, Israel is a world leader in that. It's developing, had developed the Barak 8 with India. So along with perhaps providing India with air defense systems like those, it's going to work with India to develop new ones, and that is a crucial aspect of it.
Kalev,
and
there's
course,
a lot of curiosity. There's so much to talk about. There's a lot of curiosity about the Hexagon alliance here in India. Could you also shed light on why should India even be part of this alliance? Whether or not India decides to be part of this alliance is yet unknown, but what will India stand to gain if it were to join the Hexagon?
Look, we are in a situation where the region is changing rapidly, and we've seen states like Syria move from one orbit. They were in the Iranian orbit, and they moved now. They seem to be moving in the Turkish orbit. It is not simply countries cannot simply stand on their own anymore. It is about building regional alliances, and even beyond that. And you even have just said, I noticed the threat of cyber warfare, money laundering. These are aspects of, for example, terrorism that go beyond national borders, even go beyond regional borders, and the bad players are emerged. So it is very crucial to build these kind of, again, multinational alliances. We may see in the coming months people are talking about a new NATO for the Middle East, for example, that even Israel could be a part of and include more moderate Arab states. India is going to have to be a part of these alliances. Now, it is a little tricky because you mentioned, I will say earlier, you talked about Iran, which is a point of disagreement between Israel and India.
Yes.
Whether you talked about whether Prime Minister Modi would address that, for example, in the case. Personally, I don't think, I would be very surprised if there's any public statements about that.
Sure.
Because keep in mind, this is now the U.S. and President Trump who is driving the situation and strategy with Iran, not Israel. It's President Trump, and certainly Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Netanyahu are going to want to respect that role and not deal it. But you can be sure that behind closed doors, and maybe even now there at the airport, first thing Prime Minister Modi is going to want to hear from Prime Minister Netanyahu is what is the latest that he knows on the situation with Iran.
Fascinating observations, Kalev. Thank you. Thank you. Stay with me because I want to quickly give closing thoughts to Sanjay also. Sanjay, Prime Minister Modi all set to make that address in the Knesset. We all can't wait to hear from Prime Minister, but many here in India from the Parliamentary Committee have also gone on to talk about the messaging. They have questioned the timing of this visit. What is the message overall for India's broader Middle East policy?
You know, fundamentally, the question is whether India can serve the Palestinian cause by compromising its defense position with Pakistan. It cannot. That is today India's own security is paramount necessarily and obviously to India. Israel is a critical partner for India. Israeli technology, Israeli weapon systems are critical for Indian defense. At the same time, Israel is a relatively isolated nation. It's not able to do business with a lot of countries that really have closed doors to Israel, and therefore it suits both people. Necessarily without mutual interest, we wouldn't have come as far as we have. But really these are separate tracks, and there will be questions raised about this visit inevitably, but this is a separate track. It is driven by security, it is driven by defense concerns, and so it must be.
Absolutely. The testament to that alliance is very much visible from the kind of bonhomie that we've seen between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Netanyahu, and of course the colours worn by Prime Minister and Sarah Netanyahu. Caleb Ben David, here's a very special thank you to you for joining in on CNN News 18 and sharing in your fascinating insights with us here from Israel. Many thanks to our guests also for joining in live from the studios of CNN News 18. That's all I have for you in this broadcast. Thank you so much for watching.
An honor, Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, First Lady of the United States. Second Lady of the United States. Members of Congress and my fellow Americans, our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before. Less than 5 months from now, our country will celebrate an epic milestone in American history, the 250th anniversary of our glorious American independence. This July 4th, we will mark 2.5 centuries of liberty and triumph, progress and freedom in the most incredible and exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And you've seen nothing yet. We're going to do better and better and better. This is the golden age of America. When I last spoke in this chamber 12 months ago, I had just inherited a nation in crisis with a stagnant economy, inflation at record levels, a wide open border, horrendous recruitment for military and police, rampant crime at home, and wars and chaos all over the world. But tonight, after just 1 year, I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before, and a turnaround for the ages. It is indeed a turnaround for the ages. And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today, our border is secure. Thank you. Today, our border is secure. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising fast. The roaring economy is roaring like never before. And our enemies are scared. Our military and police are stacked. And America is respected again, perhaps like never before. After 4 years in which millions and millions of illegal aliens poured across our borders, totally unvetted and unchecked, we now have the strongest and most secure border in American history by far. In the past 9 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States. But we will always allow people to come in legally, people that will love our country and will work hard to maintain our country. The flow of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by a record 56% in 1 year. And last year, the murder rate saw its single largest decline in recorded history. This is the biggest decline, think of it, in recorded history, the lowest number in over 125 years, year 1900. In fact, substantially before my wonderful father, I had a wonderful father, Fred, before he was born, substantially before he was born. That's a long time ago. He wouldn't like me to say that, but that's a long time ago. The Biden administration and its allies in Congress gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. But in 12 months, my administration has driven core inflation down to the lowest level in more than 5 years.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're watching CNN News 18. This is Nation at 5 with me, Poonam Burde. Our top focus remains on the historic visit that Prime Minister Modi has undertaken to Israel for the next 2 days. He has just landed at Tel Aviv at the airport where he was received by the Israeli Prime Minister and the First Lady. There's a lot lined up for the Prime Minister and for our viewers here as well. But first, let's get you started with the headlines. Israel rolls out the red carpet for Prime Minister Modi as Netanyahu receives his dear friend at the airport. Big affirmation of Delhi-Tel Aviv connect. Prime Minister Modi exchanges warm greetings with Israel's First Lady upon arrival in Tel Aviv, shares laughs over saffron hues of his pocket square and Sarah Netanyahu's outfit. A rare honor accorded to Prime Minister Modi. Israel invites the Indian PM to address its parliament. Trump was the last head of state to be granted the August stage. Prime Minister likely to raise India's interest in acquiring Israel's proven defense tech, the Iron Beam, as a part of the ambitious Sudarshan Chakra shield for key installations. Israel's ambitious Hexagonal alliance also on the table. Amid Rahul Gandhi's daily surrender and compromise charge against the centre of the US trade deal, BJP turns the tables on the Gandhis, accuses the entire dynasty from Nehru to Rahul of being compromised. CNN News 18 exclusively accesses video of Pahalgam attack mastermind Saifullah Qasuri threatening of using sea route to attack India next. Trump repeats his mediation claim during Indo-Pak conflict, says Pakistan Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif told him that 35 million people would have died had it not been for his intervention. JNK Chief Minister Omar Abdullah backs Mamata Banerjee over her demands to rename West Bengal, says centre should accept such demands from states uniformly and without any bias. All's not well in the DMK Congress alliance in Tamil Nadu. CNN News 18 accesses inside scoop from rival camps as seat-sharing talks progress. DMK refuses to offer more than 25 seats to the Grand Old Party. Demand of 45 rebutted. After Supreme Court singer from the CJI over the NCERT Class 8 textbooks having chapters on judicial corruption, top government sources tell CNN News 18 that the controversial chapter will now be removed. NCERT officials likely to face action. Days after Lamborghini Brat in Kanpur, now a Fast and Furious goes out of control in Hyderabad's uber posh Jubilee Hills area. Supercar loses control, crosses over the divider to ram into vehicles on the opposite side. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has landed in Israel. He received a ceremonial red carpet welcome from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, his wife, the First Lady of Israel, Sarah Netanyahu, as well. There's personal greetings, the warmth that we saw on the tarmac, and the color connect that we saw between Prime Minister Modi and the First Lady of Israel. That goes on to show the kind of rapport that the world leaders share. Remember, this is Modi's second trip to the country. It's aimed at further strengthening the robust strategic partnership that the two countries share. That has only grown remarkably in the recent years. It is a historic first for the Prime Minister because he is going to be addressing the Israeli Parliament, the Knesset. He is going to be the first Indian Prime Minister who addresses the Israeli Parliament. That's going to happen in about 3 hours' time from now. But the big focus area as far as the two countries, when the two world leaders get down to business tomorrow during the bilateral talks, is going to be defense. It's one of the signature aspects of the bilateral ties between the two countries. What is it really that both sides want? What is it that Israel already supplies to India? What is it that India wants further from here on? Well, let's take a look at what exactly it is that Israel already provides India with. UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, are one of the big key pillars as far as defense ties between the two countries go. The Heron, which is used for long endurance surveillance, that is something that Israel already provides India with. The Searcher Mk2, it's used for real-time data gathering. That's something that India has been gathering from Israel. There are loitering munitions that act as cruise missiles. That's something that Israel hands out, that's a deal between India and Israel as well. There is another Hermes 90, which is manufactured in India via a joint venture. That's something that the two countries also have a deep link with. That's something that is only going to be strengthened from here on. The biggest, of course, takeaway or the biggest expectation from this particular meeting between the two world leaders, at least on the defense part, is going to be that of what Israel can do for India as India looks to build the Sudarshan Chakra or the Iron Dome equivalent here in India. Sanjay Suri, my colleague, now joins us. He is getting us live updates from Jerusalem, where the Prime Minister is going to be. Our guests join us in the studio as well. Ashok Sajanar, former diplomat, is with us. Tara Karta, former director of the NSCS, and Major General Bishambar Dayal, defense expert, are with us as well. But Sanjay Suri, let me begin by asking you, the Prime Minister is going to be at his hotel in a short while from now. Usually when he travels abroad, we see expats, the Indian diaspora there, all ready to welcome him. Are those the scenes that the Prime Minister is expecting today as well?
Almost certainly, and we've been seeing people come here since morning. I'm right outside the hotel. This is the King David Hotel in Jerusalem, where the PM will be staying. And it began with a bit of a trickle in the morning, but since then we've had a number of Indians who live here turn up here. There have been people coming individually, people come in groups, and there's a group of young ladies from Kerala who came here with a great deal of enthusiasm because they'll be doing a dance before the Prime Minister and before the other guests who will be assembled here. And this is where the Prime Minister is due in about an hour from now from Tel Aviv. And of course, we know that in Tel Aviv, the PM has had a meeting with Netanyahu. That is quick, almost urgent, because just off the plane and straight into a meeting with the Prime Minister of Israel. This is diplomatically quite unusual, and this is only the first of 3 meetings between the two prime ministers. The second will happen at dinner tonight, and this is a private dinner that Netanyahu is hosting for the Indian Prime Minister. Then tomorrow the Prime Ministers will meet again, and that will be at delegation level talks. So within 24 hours, a very packed program by way of direct discussions between the two Prime Ministers, and of course a lot more that is attendant to this.
And a lot is on the table for both sides. There's a lot at stake for both sides as far as this visit goes. And I want to open that up with our panelists who join us here in the studio as well. Tarakarta, I want to begin by asking you, it is going to be the first time that an Indian Prime Minister addresses the Israeli Parliament. What are your expectations from that particular address? What do you think the Prime Minister will touch upon?
I think he will emphasize the unit, what shall I say, the strong empathy between the two countries, the strong defense cooperation, and also something which most people forget. There is a lot of cooperation at other levels in terms of agriculture, water conservation. These are all very, very important to us. I think there are about 200 plus centers of excellence in terms of how we negotiate, we do this on the ground. It's all happening as we speak, and I think it's been going on for quite a while. So people tend to see just the defense partnership, but there's a lot more than that. Right now, also, inevitably, I think I'm waiting to see if this happens, whether there is some kind of a message to say that at this point of time, India has always stood for peace. We've always said that we don't want this region blowing up, not because morally, we have this thing against war, but it's also against our national interests.
Correct.
You want that IMEC corridor to go through, you want the trade and connectivity, you want a bunch of things which is not served by this war. So perhaps some of that might come out as well, though we can't, you can't really preach to another country, but nonetheless, right? So, and finally, I'm hoping that this deal will produce something very important to us, which is what we call very high security oversight to terrorism efforts, the last mile thing. That is very important.
Absolutely. And before we talk about what comes next, these are visuals coming in live from Tel Aviv, where the Indian Prime Minister is in talks with the Israeli Prime Minister, his Israeli counterpart, Benjamin Netanyahu. These, of course, are informal talks, so to say. The official bilateral talks, the delegation level talks will happen tomorrow. But this is the first meeting between the two world leaders that is taking place right after Prime Minister Modi's arrival in Tel Aviv, before he addresses the Knesset, and then, of course, a private dinner that's being hosted for him by the Netanyahus. Sanjay, my colleague, continues to be with us, getting us more details. Sanjay, this is the first of those 3 meetings, like you were pointing out as well. This is going to be more of a casual, informal meeting, so to say. Business really would be discussed tomorrow. Is that what we're learning?
Oh, certainly not. I wouldn't think so. This first meeting has been slotted in very deliberately, naturally, and it wouldn't be half an hour or 40 minutes of casual talk. Certainly, it would have been pre-decided what the two leaders will want to talk about. There would have been an agenda, and a very serious agenda, and the seriousness of it is underlined by the immediacy of this meeting. So it is not likely at all that this would be a casual meeting followed by 2 serious meetings, the first serious meeting followed by 2 serious meetings. That certainly is what we are looking at.
And we'll find out soon enough what exactly it is that the world leaders are discussing. We usually do get the details of what they discussed via a video that eventually comes out. We'll know what exactly was discussed in that meeting. Sanjay, for the moment, though, thank you so much for getting us the latest from Tel Aviv. We'll, of course, keep coming back to you as we get those live pictures from there. But Ashok Sajanhar, I want to ask you this. This hexagon of alliances that there's an invitation for by Israel, is that going to be a diplomatic tightrope, so to say, for India to either accept or not accept, and which way India really goes for that offer?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. We don't really at this moment have the final contours of this proposed hexagonal alliance. Right now we know that it is India, it is Israel, and maybe, some countries in the Mediterranean, maybe Cyprus, maybe Greece, they make sense because, they have adversarial relations with Turkey. And Turkey is a hostile power as far as both India is concerned and also Israel is concerned. So it makes sense. But beyond that, whether it wants to go to other Middle East countries, is the United Arab Emirates, are any of the other countries also a part of this? What about Africa? There is, because there's mention of Africa also. Of course, as far as India is concerned, it has a great connect with a large number of countries. And then there is also some speculation that it could go even to Southeast Asia. So I think first we really need to know the contours. What is it proposed? Hexagon, okay, 6 countries, we have 4 of them. UAE might be another, India and the United Arab Emirates, we are tied together both in IMEC and I2U2, etc. But whether do we need to come in a defense partnership, in a security partnership, that's what it is. So first is in terms of contours, second is in terms of objectives. Now, what it is, Mr. Netanyahu has mentioned, that it is against the Sunni axis and against the Shia axis.
Yes.
Shia axis meaning it is basically from Iran, that has been emanating from Iran. It is the Houthis, it is the Hezbollah, and then the Sunnis, where you have the Hamas and some of the others, maybe from Qatar and the other Muslim Brotherhood, etc., etc. Now, I think we really need to sit back and pause, because India has excellent relations with a large number of countries in the Gulf, whether it's Saudi Arabia, whether it's Bahrain, whether it's so many of the others. So, we can't really have a blanket under which, we say Sunni axis, all Sunni countries are there. Meaning there are 54 countries of the Islamic world. And India over the last 10 years has really reached out to a large number of them. And we have excellent ties with them, partnership with them. And it's not only because of that. We have about 9-10 million of our people, diaspora, who are working in that region. In terms of the biggest trading partners, we have United Arab Emirates is the 3rd largest.
Yes.
Saudi Arabia is the 4th largest. In terms of our energy requirements, in terms of the investment that is coming from United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, $75 billion each. In terms of the remittances. So, it's a very critical part for India. So, we really need to go deep into it. I don't know whether this whole idea was shared with the Indian authorities before Mr. Netanyahu decided to come, or come out open on the 22nd of this month.
Yeah.
So I think for most of us, those who are following these developments, in think tanks and analysts, etc. I think it's really come as a new idea. We'll really have to go deep into it, and definitely the government will have to go deep into it. But now when the 2 leaders meet, definitely this what is the idea behind this hexagonal alliance? Maybe it makes sense in terms of dealing with, let's say, the rise of radicalism, rise of extremism, rise of terrorism, as we have just been talking about.
Yes.
But it needs to be much more focused. It cannot be, such a broad-based sort of, a target objective that this is what we are dealing with, as Mr. Netanyahu seems to have mentioned in his introduction of this idea.
And speaking of terrorism, counter-terror is something that perhaps binds the 2 countries together most deeply. And Major Dayal, I want to ask you about that. As far as that particular aspect of ties between the 2 countries is concerned, when the 2 leaders do get down to business to talk about all the other deals that would be on the table, in terms of defense, what do you think would be the most important thing that India should push for? What, in your opinion, would that case be?
See, with Israel, we already have a number of defense deals going on. Sudarshan Chakra also, if you really look at it, bulk of it is already in process, right? With Bell, we have got a deep, cooperation with Israel in terms of Akash, in terms of, radars, in terms of communication systems. With Alpha Design or Adani Group, we already have, different systems coming in terms of UAVs and things like that. So as far as defense is concerned, except, see, they are not a major manufacturer of warship. They are not major manufacturer themselves of big, fighter jets. They are not major manufacturer. They are only technology hubs. So in technology hub, we are basically looking at cyber technologies, in technologies where today the most important, the artificial intelligence, quantum computerization, utilization into the defense structure. So those are the things, intelligence sharing. I mean, different apps are there, how to counter them. So those could be the only things. But as far as our overall defense thing is concerned, I don't think there'll be any major announcement there. There'll be upgradation, because as we talk of our own Iron Dome or our own Sudarshan Chakra, let me tell you, it starts with, back home if you really look at it, it starts with the radars, detection. Then it comes the first deterrence. First deterrence is the weapons which are already with the army, with the air defense system, then the air defense, then comes the S-400, then integration of all this, then into command. We already have our Bell, Bharat Electronics has already produced a system where right up to where the shooter, the sensor, shooter, and the command decision, they're all on the same platform at tactical level, strategic level, and even at the political military strategic level. So we've gone a long way. And what we are looking at is no more imports. We are looking at cooperation. We are looking at different, different JVs coming up here in whatever field, whether we are looking at spikes. So far we have been buying spikes. So far we have been buying spice, which was used by Mirage 2000 in the Balakot. So we would like to jointly produce these things now. We are looking at more a joint production, joint ventures established here in India with entire technology available to us. And
absolutely, technology
together.
transfer is
So
something that India has been pushing for with many other countries as well, and that's going to be
technologies they've been holding. You see, let's face it.
And many countries have been reluctant to share that technology with us.
Even Israelis on some of them have been holding some of the key. It takes time, to build these relationships. Like some of our communication system initially, when we have the algorithms from Israel, it took us time to build that relationship. So there is a requirement of joint production, joint manufacturing, their involvement here. Otherwise, let's look at it. Today, India, everybody is looking at Indian defense market, right? India is looking at Atmanirbharta.
Yes.
Everybody still wants to export to us. That's the philosophy. We got to break that. And Israel should take steps. And I don't think there'll be many major announcements there.
And we'll find out what exactly happens there. But even as we discuss what the two world leaders are going to be talking about, the excitement really is building up in Israel that the Indian Prime Minister is visiting. We've seen several people, both from the Indian diaspora there, the expats who live there, and several Israeli nationals as well that are looking forward to this visit for a number of reasons. In fact, let's listen into some of those reactions that have come in from on ground in Israel.
Tell us about yourself, please.
My name is Tzipi. I was in a KIP 86 group, same like him, and I'm very excited too.
So you'll be meeting the Prime Minister as well?
Yeah, I was 1 month before. I was in Young Bharat in New Delhi, so I saw Modi before, so now again. Thank you.
Your name, please, and tell us about the Bharat Jani competition you have won.
Can I talk about the No India program? It was fun. Okay, so my name is Ravital Moses. I was actually born in India and I made Aliyah with my family. I come from the Indian Jewish community. I've been living here for a while now, and I had the opportunity, being a part of the Indian diaspora, go to New Delhi and other cities and explore how India has changed. Because usually people see India as post-colonial India, and India is now gearing towards Vikasit Bharat. So that is something that I really explored, and I covered on my own channel and made sure that people knew what India is today.
Talking about how do you look at the visit by Prime Minister? It's coming after 9 years. Last time he was in 2017. Now this time in 2026 he is here. And how excited are you? Because you're going to meet him as well. How do you look at the visit?
I'll be very honest. When he was here on his first visit in 2017, I was in India and I was watching the news, and I wished that I was there in person, in the flesh, to meet him, and I've manifested my dream today. So and he is the first Indian Prime Minister to walk on the Israeli soil. So we are very excited and very happy that we get to represent the community.
Hello. My name is Rajan Vishwakarma, and I'm on the spouse visa here. And I played the game. Yes, exactly. And I work as an online teacher, and I'm very, very excited to meet the Prime Minister.
Interestingly, talking about the visit, what do you have to say, because you're going to meet the Prime Minister as well?
Yeah.
Tell him that
we are very honored, first of all, and I like his work and I spread his work, and I'm really looking forward that the India and Israel ties goes way beyond friendship, and they kind of support each other all the time, and there should be a give and take between all the AI and education and all the field that we have. Thank you so much.
So the buzz is building up there, even as the Prime Minister is expected at his hotel after that meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu, where the two leaders are discussing getting down to business really the minute he has landed in Tel Aviv. Our guests continue to be with us here in the studios. Ambassador Sajjanar, I want to ask you this. There is a lot of stake as far as both countries are concerned, but do you think the stakes are higher for Israel to kind of get the endorsement that it is at a time that it's coming in from the world's largest democracy?
No, absolutely. I think, as we were discussing earlier, I think Israel at this moment, because of what has been happening as far as Gaza is concerned, what happened on the 7th of October 2023, what is happening with US and Iran, and what Iran has threatened that if it is attacked, then all its missiles are going to home in on Israel. So Israel and the sort of coverage that it has been receiving from all the other countries around the world, Israel is a country that has its back to the wall. It has really been cornered, meaning, of course, America is the only supporter, visible supporter, obvious supporter. So it needs the support of India. As far as India is concerned, India is today in a Goldilocks moment. You have the European Union president and Commission president and the Council president coming here, signing this FTA, big FTA. Before that, you have Chancellor of Germany, Mr. Merz coming, then Macron coming, then Lula coming, then day after tomorrow, Carney is coming. So the whole world is homing in towards India, because India is, whether it is in terms of the economy that it is doing, 10th largest economy 10 years ago, today 4th largest, third, going to be third very soon, fastest growing major economy in the area of technology. You look at the digital public infrastructure and so many other things that have been happening. And in terms of the leadership of the country, politically stable, where do you find a country of this size and, third, fourth largest economy, etc., and now growing up very well as far as military technology is concerned. So, India is in a very good moment. So, of course, it is a win-win relationship between India and Israel.
Sure.
But to respond to the question that you had, India has a large number of wooers. Many countries are courting India, while as far as Israel is concerned, it needs global support. And India has emerged, as Netanyahu himself said, as a global power.
Yes.
And so, there is definitely this inequality, if I can put it this way, but definitely this is a relationship that serves the interest of both the countries.
And that's something that will be looked into as well. Before I get in more perspective from our panelists here, I do want our viewers to listen in to what exactly transpired when Prime Minister Modi landed in Tel Aviv. Right off the tarmac, there was a light moment, especially between him and the First Lady of Israel. Listen in to how that conversation went.
This is good. You see what you wore? Look at the color. It's a wonderful leader.
I know. Look at it.
Welcome. Great. We have a lot to do. We're going here. You see what you wore? Look at the color.
The bonhomie and rapport that we saw on the tarmac there in Tel Aviv is going to be taken forward over the next 48 hours as the two world leaders get down to business. There's a lot at stake for both countries. How that will go, we'll keep an eye out here on CNN News 18. But for the moment, it's time for a quick break. I thank my panelists for joining us here and sharing their perspective.
An honor, Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, First Lady of the United States. Second Lady of the United States. Members of Congress and my fellow Americans, our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before. Less than 5 months from now, our country will celebrate an epic milestone in American history, the 250th anniversary of our glorious American independence. This July 4th, we will mark 2.5 centuries of liberty and triumph, progress and freedom in the most incredible and exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And you've seen nothing yet. We're going to do better and better and better. This is the golden age of America. When I last spoke in this chamber 12 months ago, I had just inherited a nation in crisis with a stagnant economy, inflation at record levels, a wide open border, horrendous recruitment for military and police, rampant crime at home, and wars and chaos all over the world. But tonight, after just 1 year, I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a ages. It is indeed a turnaround for the ages. And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today, our border is secure. Thank you. Today, our border is secure. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising fast. The roaring economy is roaring like never before, and our enemies are scared, our military and police are stacked, and America is respected again, perhaps like never before. After 4 years in which millions and millions of illegal aliens poured across our borders, totally unvetted and unchecked, we now have the strongest and most secure border in American history by far. In the past 9 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States. But we will always allow people to come in legally, people that will love our country and will work hard to maintain our country. The flow of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by a record 56% in 1 year. And last year, the murder rate saw its single largest decline in recorded history. This is the biggest decline, think of it, in recorded history, the lowest number in over 125 years, year 1900. In fact, substantially before my wonderful father, I had a wonderful father, Fred, before he was born, substantially before he was born. That's a long time ago. He wouldn't like me to say that, but that's a long time ago. The Biden administration and its allies in Congress gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. But in 12 months, my administration has driven core inflation down to the lowest level in more than 5 years. And in the last 3 months of 2025, it was down to 1.7%. Gasoline, which reached a peak of over $6 a gallon in some states under my predecessor, it was quite honestly a disaster, is now below $2.30 a gallon in most states, and in some places, $1.99 a gallon. And when I visited the great state of Iowa just a few weeks ago, I even saw $1.85 a gallon for gasoline.
Welcome back. You're watching Nation at 5. I'm Akanksha Swarupa. We're getting in breaking inputs coming in. This is with regards to over 200 passengers who were aboard an Indigo international flight from Chennai to Singapore, who were forced to wait inside the plane for nearly 5 hours without receiving any updates about their departure. Now, even a video, as you can see on your screen, of this entire incident was captured, and it went viral quickly on social media, showing the frustration of these passengers who are questioning, even expressing their anger at the crew of Indigo. 200 passengers left stranded. Anvit will shed more light in terms of why they were made to wait so long. Anvit, what are the reasons that you're learning of?
Well, Akanksha, what we are being told is that there were some technical issues with the flight, and flight engineers were called in to attend that. And this flight was scheduled to take off at 7:30 from Chennai to Singapore. It's roughly about 3.5-4 hours journey. But boarding started at 6:30, and passengers were made to board. But after that, this issue was detected, some technical snag. Engineers were called in. They were checking the flight. At the same time, it took them around 3 to 4 hours to check the flight. And between that, the flight duty norms were exceeded of the pilot and the crew. Then the crew had to be changed, is what we are getting to know. And then arranging for an alternate crew is what took time. So all of that took around more than 5 hours, and finally the flight took off around noon. The pilot and the crew could be arranged by 11, and by 12 noon the flight finally took off. So the video that we see, that the passengers are arguing with the with the airline staff and with the local ground staff, is because the passengers were feeling suffocated overheated, the ACs were not working, they were working intermittently, and what we have been told that it became very hot inside the flight. They were elderly citizens, they were infants traveling, so all of them requested to be allowed to get off the flight, off the plane, but they were not allowed. Security was also called in because they were not being allowed to deboard the plane. They were all made to sit for more than 5 hours, and that is the entire chaos all about. Indigo has said that they had arranged for alternative flight, and there were some issues with technical issues for which the engineers had been called in to attend, and during that time, because WTL norms were exceeded, the crew had to be changed.
Several complaints now being shared on the internet by senior citizens and children who were also passengers. They are complaining that they were being stopped by CISF personnel from exiting as well. Any information coming in from Indigo side? Any statement being issued by the airline so far, Anvit?
See, they have sent a statement. They have regretted the incident, and they have also said that measures that were taken were necessary for operation of the flight. And CISF was called in because the passengers were requesting to be let off on the tarmac. And once boarding happens, it is not as per the SOP, as per the plate protocols. Passengers cannot be allowed to deboard on tarmac. So that was the reason why CISF and security had to be called in. There were also airline staff that is requesting passengers to not exit the plane. We can see in a video that passengers and the staff of the airline and ground staff, they are arguing on the ladder that takes you inside the plane. So they are standing on the ladder requesting to be let out, but staff is telling them that it is not allowed and you have to stay inside. But it was because more than 5 hours it was getting suffocating, it was getting hot inside the plane. Some passengers have also taken to social media to to let their outrage, and they have said that it was getting hot, ACs were not working. There were infants in the flight who started crying. There were elderly citizens who were feeling suffocated and uneasy, and that was the reason this entire chaos took place on the ladder. And Indigo has regretted, and they've given a statement that alternative flight was arranged, and this is the reason exactly why it all happened.
Many thanks to you, Anvit, for bringing us those inputs with these harrowing tales. Remember, do not stop at any moment. This after what the entire airlines had to go through in December. With that, shifting focus over to some more breaking inputs coming in from Kerala. The movie Kerala Story hearing is all set to continue tomorrow, is what we're being told. Justice Benjamin Thomas has said that the rights of the movie should not be released before the hearing is over. Remember, the hearing will be continuing tomorrow, is what we are being told in the latest inputs. Tomorrow morning, the court will continue this hearing and might even give an interim order tomorrow itself. So a lot rests on this order that is expected to happen, but Justice Benjamin Thomas has said that the rights of the movie should only be released only after the interim order is declared tomorrow. This is with regards to Kerala Story 2. Remember, it has arrived at a very critical juncture in terms of the political climate of the state just ahead of the assembly election. Of course, the ruling government under Pinarayi Vijayan has been training its guns, saying that it is only targeting a particular community and this is only mispropaganda. Let's quickly go across to Neetu Regu Kumar, who brings us those breaking inputs. Neetu, what more can you tell us?
Now, the hearing will continue tomorrow at 9:45 a.m. as far as the Kerala Story movie is concerned, and Justice Benjamin Thomas has already told the makers of the movie that the title should not be released till the hearing is over. So that is what the justice had orally said. There was the arguments of all sides were heard. The petitioners, there were two petitioners, so they had mentioned even earlier instances when the Central Board of Film Certification took objection to beef eating scenes in a movie or even the title of the movie. The Central Board of Film Certifications Council went on to say that they have nothing to do as far as the teaser and the trailer is concerned, because these are not certified by the Central Board of Film Certification and they have no authority over that. They have only control over what happens inside the theatre. Yesterday, while hearing the case in the morning, Justice Benjamin had asked the makers that he would like to see the movie, and but today they have also submitted an affidavit, and today in court, while the arguments were heard, the justice was heard saying that no one has seen the movie. That is why, even though there is lack of time, we thought we could see the movie, but the makers are not keen on us watching the movie. So this is what they have submitted in the affidavit, is also what we are understanding. At the same time, What they are saying, what the court has said is that the arguments will continue and an interim order is expected tomorrow as far as this matter is concerned.
Stay with me, Neetu. We're getting in more breaking inputs from Kerala. This, as what we are being told, is that Kerala's Health Minister, Veena George, has suffered injuries to her neck and hand during a black flag protest that was being staged by Kerala Students' Union activists at the Kannur railway station. Following this, even Kerala Chief Minister has visited Veena George in the hospital. Big news coming in, as you can see, in fact, visuals coming in of that heated protest that was taking place. And even though the cops tried to intervene to calm down these protesters, Veena George has indeed suffered some injuries. Neetu continues to stay with us. Neetu, shocking news coming in. What are you learning in terms of the condition of Veena George? Also, what are these protesters demanding?
She is in the hospital right now. She has suffered injuries to her hand and neck is what we are understanding. Now the protest against Veena George has been continuing for some days now. The KSU, the Youth Congress and the Congress have been raising protest against the health minister, stating that the condition of the health department is worse. The recent incident of a forceps being found inside a woman's belly after she underwent a surgery at a government medical college hospital. Now we are right now at Thiruvananthapuram, and behind me you can see that the All India Democratic Women's Association, the Women's Association associated with the CPIM, is gathered here at the VJT Hall, outside the VJT Hall here. They are taking out a protest march. This is against the attack on Health Minister Veena George and how the KSU workers have been taken out these black flag protests. So this is their protest. The march is just beginning from VJT Hall here. So the women, the Janatipatya Mahila Association, as they are commonly called, the association is All India Democratic Women's Association, affiliated with the CPIM. So in protest of the attack on Health Minister Veena George, they are taking out this protest march in Thiruvananthapuram. We have seen the Chief Minister also visiting the Health Minister in the hospital.
Two parallel protests now, one where Veena George actually got hurt, and the second one is to mark a protest against the injuries that have been borne by her. Neetu Regukumar, many thanks to you for bringing us those latest details. With that, we're slipping into a quick break. Stay tuned to CNN News 18 as we return.
An honor, Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, First Lady of the United States. Second Lady of the United States. Members of Congress and my fellow Americans, our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before. Less than 5 months from now, our country will celebrate an epic milestone in American history, the 250th anniversary of our glorious American independence. This July 4th, we will mark 2.5 centuries of liberty and triumph, progress and freedom in the most incredible and exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And you've seen nothing yet. We're going to do better and better and better. This is the golden age of America. When I last spoke in this chamber 12 months ago, I had just inherited a nation in crisis with a stagnant economy, inflation at record levels, a wide open border, horrendous recruitment for military and police, rampant crime at home, and wars and chaos all over the world. But tonight, after just 1 year, I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before, and a turnaround for the ages. It is indeed a turnaround for the ages. And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today our border is secure. Thank you. Today our border is secure. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising fast. The roaring economy is roaring like never before, and our enemies are scared, our military and police are stacked, and America is respected again, perhaps like never before. After 4 years in which millions and millions of illegal aliens poured across our borders, totally unvetted and unchecked, we now have the strongest and most secure border in American history by far. In the past 9 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States. But we will always allow people to come in legally, people that will love our country and will work hard to maintain our country. The flow of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by a record 56% in 1 year. And last year, the murder rate saw its single largest decline in recorded history. This is the biggest decline, think of it, in recorded history, the lowest number in over 125 years, year 1900. In fact, substantially before my wonderful father, I had a wonderful father, Fred, before he was born, substantially before he was born. That's a long time ago. He wouldn't like me to say that, but that's a long time ago. The Biden administration and its allies in Congress gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. But in 12 months, my administration has driven core inflation down to the lowest level in more than 5 years. And in the last 3 months of 2025, it was down to 1.7%. Gasoline, which reached a peak of over $6 a gallon in some states under my predecessor, it was quite honestly a disaster, is now below $2.30 a gallon in most states, and in some places, $1.99 a gallon. And when I visited the great state of Iowa just a few weeks ago, I even saw $1.85 a gallon for gasoline. Mortgage rates are the lowest in 4 years and falling fast, and the annual cost of a typical new mortgage is down almost $5,000 just since I took office.
Welcome back. CCTV footage from Hyderabad's Jubilee Hills has shown the exact moment a Ferrari luxury sports car lost control at high speeds on a main road, hit the divider and rammed a car coming from the opposite direction. 3 people were injured in this incident that took place on Road 45, a busy stretch near Tollywood. Actor and Telugu Desam Party MLA Balakrishna's residence. In fact, if you look at those visuals, it captures that precise moment when the Ferrari actually jumps over the divider. More breaking inputs coming in. According to police, a businessman, Yemani Venkata Raja Reddy, was behind the wheel. The car reportedly suffered a brake failure and steering lock, causing the driver to lose control. This is the latest information coming in terms of what exactly led to this accident. Remember, several people have been injured. PV Ramana joins me live on the broadcast. Ramana, if you can share the details with regards to what exactly led to that brake failure, any information on that front?
Yeah, Akanksha, we can see the horrible and dramatic visuals related to this Ferrari car accident. Police came to a conclusion that because of the mechanical failure and brake malfunction is the main reason for this entire incident. When the Ferrari was over speeding and it was rammed into the electrical pole first, then it was entered to other side of the road and it collided with 2 other vehicles. In this incident, 5 people were injured, and of course, the businessman, 30-year-old businessman, as well as his wife also in the car, and 5 people injured with small injuries. They went out, and it is basically it's a mechanical and brake failure is the main reason for that. And moreover, there is some steering failure also there. Police investigating into the particular matter and what exactly happened mechanically in this incident. They are finding it out. Akanksha.
All right, many thanks to you, Ramana, for bringing us all those latest inputs. That's all I have for you in this edition of Nation at 5. Many thanks to you for watching it. Up next is Plain Speak with Shivani Gupta.
An honor, Speaker Johnson. Please. Second Lady of the United States. Members of Congress and my fellow Americans, our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before. Less than 5 months from now, our country will celebrate an epic milestone in American history, the 250th anniversary of our glorious American independence. This July 4th, we will mark 2.5 centuries of liberty and triumph, progress and freedom in the most incredible and exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And you've seen nothing yet. We're going to do better and better and better. This is the golden age of America. When I last spoke in this chamber 12 months ago, I had just inherited a nation in crisis with a stagnant economy, inflation at record levels, a wide open border, horrendous recruitment for military and police, rampant crime at home, and wars and chaos all over the world. But tonight, after just 1 year, I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before and a turnaround for the ages. It is indeed a turnaround for the ages. And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today, our border is secure. Thank you. Today, our border is secure. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising fast. The roaring economy is roaring like never before, and our enemies are scared. Our military and police are stacked, and America is respected again, perhaps like never before. After 4 years in which millions and millions of illegal aliens poured across our borders, totally unvetted and unchecked, we now have the strongest and most secure border in American history by far. In the past 9 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States. But we will always allow people to come in legally, people that
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Tel Aviv earlier today for a historic visit to Israel, receiving a ceremonial red carpet welcome from Benjamin Netanyahu and wife Sarah Netanyahu. Now, Prime Minister Modi disembarked with a namaste and the two leaders shared a warm handshake and hug. As the meeting between the two leaders is underway now, an informal one, tonight Prime Minister Modi will address the Knesset, which is Israel's parliament, marking a historic first for any Indian PM. Later, he will attend a tech and innovation exhibition highlighting collaboration in defense, AI and emerging technologies. The day will conclude with a private dinner hosted by PM Netanyahu. This visit is more than just optics. It underscores India's strategic ambition and global stature, as PM Modi positions the country as a decisive power shaping the region and world decisions. And first up, joining us on the show are 3 former ambassadors of Israel for a special preview to the Prime Minister's visit and especially that speech in the Israeli parliament that everyone is keenly waiting for. Daniel Carman, former Israeli ambassador to India, Ron Malka, former Israeli ambassador to India, and Dror Edyar, former Israeli ambassador to Italy, on joining us. Ron, I want to begin with you. Why is the Indian shift towards Israel so important for Israel?
No, in Israel, we are now in a very crucial time. A war in the Middle East might break out any day now. These negotiations between the United States and Iran, nobody knows how it will end. And both sides are preparing to a war. So for Israel, in times of war, we need our close partners, strategic partners with us. And India is one of the most important allies of Israel in the world, two democracies that for many years support each other. So for us, it's very obvious to understand why it's so important.
From what you say, can we say that it is inevitable then that there will indeed be a joint Israel-US action against Iran, maybe soon after the Indian Prime Minister leaves Israel?
I don't see any need to anyone to intervene or interfere in this conflict. I don't think anyone is expecting or asking that to happen. I don't think this is the issue. but a support to be alongside, to say, yes, we are there for you in time of need. This is what we expect, and I think this is what we are getting now. I think for many years, Israel and India has supported each other. I think even more before, but Kargil war is, I think, a shining example. The Gaza war, for the other hand, I think that India and Israel showed that for a long time, they know how to support each other in times of need. And even now, I think, again, it's mutual interest, because now, as much as India is growing and gaining more and more market shares and values and assets, India needs to protect itself and to build its own Iron Dome with all the different layers that are needed for that. And there's no more perfect and matching partner for this than Israel, because Israel is leading this technology in the world. So I think it's a mutual interest, exactly in these times.
No, good you clarify that there are no expectations for any third party to intervene. But my question to you is it almost certain then? Is it a certainty that there will be action that is coming?
I think nobody knows, and whoever will try to predict this is putting himself in risk. I think that nobody knows when and in what scale, and if at any, the war will break out and the United States will decide to attack. For sure, they are ready for that. They did all the preparations. Everybody prefers a diplomatic deal than starting a war. But of course, high chances that it will happen. Nobody knows when and if.
Yeah, sure. Daniel, I want to come to you as we are discussing this. Meeting is happening at a very, eventful time and very critical time for global politics. In itself is a very big statement from India, the Indian PM, the Indian government to visit Israel at such a time. So how do you look at the global message that this visit is sending?
Well, it's definitely a message, first of all, to the peoples of India and Israel, but also to the world in such a crucial time when the world is looking for, trying to learn itself how to reorder the new order of things throughout the world. It's a really tough time, very unstable times, and we all feel it day in and day out. I think that the message that India is sending is not a new message. It has been sent since 1992 and then upgraded in 2014 when the world received a message, especially, people in India and Israel received a message, and people around West Asia received a message, which says it's okay to do business with Israel. I'm not talking about business, I'm talking about having good relations with Israel, without leaving the Palestinian issue, the Palestinian cause, which is fine. You can do both things. This is the message that India said. We call it dehyphenation. You can do both things together, which was not the case before when the non-aligned movement took us to other spheres, including boycotting Israel, which is totally, unthinkable nowadays. So yes, it's a very important visit today, very important. I wouldn't call it historic because the history was made 10 years ago, 9 years ago. And I, being there, receiving Prime Minister Modi at the airport, I still feel the excitement. It was historic. Nowadays, it's more of a routine thing of two countries that have declared themselves as strategic partners. And if I can tell you in confidence, I hope that this will be upgraded during this week, like they did with France. We have very strong relations. Until 2014, they were sort of low visibility. From 2014, they became very visible, and we know about defense, agriculture, water, and I think many more issues will be discussed during this visit.
We're obviously looking at greater defense cooperation, as you mentioned, even joint production now, looking forward to that. But there is this talk of an FTA. Do you see that coming? Any announcement on that during this visit?
FTA is crucial. I really thank you for asking this question. I've been accompanying the FTA process during my tenure in Delhi, and I really tried to push it as hard as I could. It didn't materialize for various reasons. I think that India has changed its attitude towards FTAs, and we've seen in the last month huge progress with the GCC countries, with Europe, with the United States. And I think Israel would be proud to stand in line with those countries signing in the nearest future an FTA. It will be good for both economies. We are a small economy, so it won't make a real change. People who are fearing signing FTAs can be calm. I think it's very important, and it's a political message too. So if the FTA will advance and will be signed within a few months, it will be a great achievement for India and Israel together.
Let's wait and see if that comes. Certainly some level of escalation as far as the relationship between the two countries is expected, and India has been on a spree signing a lot of FTAs. So John, I come to you. What do you think is the message that the Prime Minister could be sending because of the significance of the timing of this visit right now that everyone, the entire world is talking about?
So we have some goals to this historic visit of Prime Minister Modi in Israel. We have the strategic and defense goal, and of course all the alliance, the security alliance between the countries in also our defense systems and AI and all these. We share same goals of building a stability axis in this volatile world. And we have also the economic, of course, the economic goal of the free trade agreement, FTA, and to make sure that we'll have a corridor, safe corridor of trade between our two countries. Of course, we have the geopolitical goal, as I said. We have some axis in the world, and we want, like India, to have the axis of the goods. So Israel and India are building now what we call the stability axis to, both interests of Israel and India is a stable Middle East and stable world, of course. And we have, of course, the symbolic diplomatic goal with the also, I needed to use this word, historic address in the Knesset.
Yes.
I might say that I'm very fond of Prime Minister Modi. I find him as an intellectual, not only a leader, but intellectual, also a spiritual person. I joined Prime Minister Netanyahu's visit in 2018, and I listened carefully to all his words. I mean, Prime Minister Modi. And I understood that Modi does not look at Israel only as a buyer, seller, or a modern state only, but also he looks at us as representatives or spearheads of a great civilization, the Jewish Christian civilization, and we both are two ancient civilizations, and I think that Modi understands it very well in this trying to strengthen the bond between our two countries, between our two civilizations. This is the point. And of course, we have the civil and humanitarian goal of this visit to secure food and water, especially to bring, to give to India our innovations and achievements in these fields. So we have a lot of goals to do in 24 hours, and we're looking forward for it.
Look, but before I let you all go, what is that one thing that you're looking forward to from his speech at the Knesset? As you said, you heard him very closely when you came here with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu last time. So anything special? Do you think there will be some special message, something that you expect that he would say?
Well, you know that every politician that speaks in the Knesset speak about, let's say, material, okay, defense, economy, all this. But as I said, I'm expecting from Prime Minister Modi also to focus in some spiritual points between our two civilizations.
Okay.
Because I think that also the Israelis, first and foremost, look at India not only as a source of economical agreements or defense, but mainly as a source of different spiritual experience. And I think that this is also a message of hope to the whole world and to our region.
All right, that's a good note to end on. I think you're absolutely right. There could well be more of that civilizational talk when the Prime Minister speaks at the Knesset later this evening. I do thank all the ambassadors for joining us. Now, at the heart of Prime Minister's visit is India's strategic pursuit as well of defense and tech. From Mission Sudarshan Chakra, India's ambitious multi-layered missile shield, to potential collaboration on Iron Dome, David Sling and the Iron Beam. This visit underscores India's commitment to strengthening its defense capabilities. Beyond purchasing systems, India is actively pursuing joint research, co-production and technology transfer, reinforcing the Make in India vision and securing strategic autonomy. Now, adding another layer of strategic depth to this is Prime Minister Netanyahu unveiling a Hexagon alliance, a regional security framework that positions India as a key partner as well. Now, this is what he said. He said he wants to create a hexagon of alliances in and around the Middle East. He described this bloc as a partnership designed to counter radical Shia and Sunni axis in the region. Netanyahu emphasized that India is a global power and Prime Minister Narendra Modi is a personal friend. He added that nations working together with shared goals can ensure resilience and secure their future. Listen.
In the vision that I see before my eyes, we will create a complete system, essentially a kind of hexagon of alliances around or within the Middle East. This includes India, this includes Arab countries, this also includes African countries, and also countries in the Mediterranean, Greece and Cyprus, and also countries in Asia that I will not list right now. I will present it in an orderly manner.
The Hexagon doctrine unveiled by the Israeli Prime Minister, this aims to counter, as I said, Iran's radical Shia axis and emerging extremist threats in West Asia. The proposed bloc brings together Israel, India, Greece, Cyprus, along with select Arab, African and Asian nations, forming a strategic partnership across the region. The focus of this alliance is on defense tech, drones, radar systems, intelligence sharing and cooperation in AI, deepening security and innovation ties. Strategically, the doctrine broadens also India-Israel ties into a more regional security bloc, signaling India's growing influence in shaping the future of West Asia itself. And to take more about this and other things that we can expect, I want to go across to our guest joining us, Major Dan Pepperman. Major Dan Pepperman, former IDF and foreign policy expert, is joining us. Also with me in the studio is Tara Karta, former director, NSCS, Major General Bishambar Dayal, a defense expert. I want to take our Indian perspective first before I go across to Major Dan as well. So Major General Bishambar Dayal, do you think India should join this hexagonal alliance that everybody's talking about?
No, I don't think. You see, the alliance has to be threat-based. The threat has to be common to the alliance. The only threat, probably some commonality which exists today, is in the terrorism field. We do not have any direct land threat from the countries which are probably today threatening Israel or threatening Cyprus. It's just that enemies, a friend's enemy is your common.
But some of these countries can also be looked as friends of our enemy.
They are friends of our enemy, but they are friends of whom? I mean, basically in this area, like I was trying to explain earlier also, there are 4 major military powers, right? Israel is one, Saudi Arabia is second, Turkey is third, and Iran is fourth. We have got good relations with Saudi Arabia. We've got good relations with UAE. We have got no confrontation with Iran. Actually, we are suffering because of Chabar. We are getting all the way right up to Central Asian and Russian. That entire corridor is pending. So with Iran, we do not have. We do not have that sort of anti in India. We have a huge population of Shia Sunnis. I mean, direct thing like that, targeting communities. I think Netanyahu is presently looking at his own objective. India today has emerged actually after the Ukraine-Russian and Prime Minister's statement that the world is for peace. I personally feel that in this unstable environment, in this environment when there is a complete standoff between Iran and America, Iran and of course Israel will be part of it. So in this sort of environment, joining, and there are so many alliances. And for alliance, there has to be a common objective, common mission, there has to be a threat. In that threat, and that threat
you
has
don't
to be
feel
multi-domain.
that there is a place
it has
for...
to be multi-domain, multi-dimensional. So, see, today even terrorism is not under that era when it was a free trade agreement between terrorists. There was a free trade agreement in 90s. ISIs could move anywhere. The Lashkar-e-Toiba could, the Jaish-e-Mohammed, all these, they were international terrorism going around. They could move freely. You imagine how terrorists could move from Syria to Afghanistan to J&K. That has died down. Right? So the terrorism threat is also very, very regional today. What he's facing is, he's facing Houthis, he's facing Hamas, he's facing those elements which are not generally, if you really see, they were looking at it. When Yasser was there, they were looking at us as peacemaker, as somebody, a country to whom they could look up to. Right?
Okay,
So
I get your point.
India cannot walk into this.
You're saying there is no real truck to be made
There is
as
no
far
real,
as
and
this
I don't think
alliance
India
is...
would walk into it. And I don't think even Prime Minister would mention it. Let me tell you, he would talk more of peace. He would talk of, in his parliamentary address, he would talk of more what Indian civilization is, what great we are, how our friendship has gone around, and what today world is going around. He probably, you see, Netanyahu is a key factor between the troika. There's a friendship between President Trump, Prime Minister Modi, and Netanyahu. And of course, Prime Minister Modi and the Russian president, right? So somewhere there is little bit which Netanyahu plays a very critical role. Today's world is not controlled by UN. It's not controlled by statesmen. It's controlled by people, those who have developed personal relationships.
So interestingly, you set this up from India's point of view. Major Dan, I want to come to you. So what is it that will convince or, Prime Minister Netanyahu could say to the Indian Prime Minister to convince him that, okay, you shed your own domestic concerns and regional concerns and join this, quote, hexagonal alliance. What's in it for India in this?
Well, I think what's in it for India is that it is solidifying a key leadership role in, an alliance of countries that is politically moderate, that is forward-looking, that are primarily democracies, and that are looking to build interconnected economies based on a shared vision of mutual thriving, mutual kind of defense pacts, and then building this economic infrastructure, this logistical and economics infrastructure that goes all the way from India to the Eastern Mediterranean and is backed up by a very mutually beneficial defense alliance between these countries. And so you're talking about, it's not exactly clear which countries are in this hexagon that Prime Minister Netanyahu has been talking about, but it seems, as you mentioned, the Greeks and the Cypriots on one side. Israel's President Herzog right now is visiting in Ethiopia, and it seems very likely that Ethiopia and Somaliland, which Israel is the first and so far the only country to recognize, would be part of that in order to bolster the kind of growing presence of Islamist Muslim Brotherhood aligned countries in East Africa. And then, of course, you have the UAE in the Gulf, which India has long had a strong and excellent relationship on a number of fronts with the UAE. So it's part of IMEC, but it's really expanded, and it takes into account cultural, political, strategic, defense, commercial, trade, logistics elements. I mean, this is absolutely a win-win and India being, first of all, a world leader in many regards, one of the biggest, the fourth biggest economy in the world, if I'm not mistaken, major manufacturing hub, the key power in South Asia, this just seems like a no-brainer win-win alliance for the Indians to be a massive leader in.
Tarakarta, you see this as a win-win, or is there more to gain than lose, or more to lose than gain if we were to join such an alliance?
I don't think the Hexagon is going to be
A reality.
seriously discussed, I mean, or even put it up in India for the immediate future, because we don't know anything about it. We don't know what his vision is. We don't know what he wants to achieve out of this, right? So that is one. In terms of what the previous speaker said, I think much of that is through IMEC. For that, you need peace in Israel and in that whole area, and which is part of what our position is, that we need peace both for the Palestinian people as well as for Israelis. While, of course, we have very, very strong empathy with Israel because of its terrorism that it has suffered, and we have also suffered. That empathy notwithstanding, I think the message that is going to go out, especially I think in that little talk which the two leaders had before just now, I think that is the key message which is going to go out, that this has to stop. It's for the benefit of everybody, keeping in mind that Israel's security has to be paramount. I mean, there's no two ways on that. Israel has to be allowed to live peacefully. Hamas cannot operate. I mean, those are the ground rules. But I just want to say one more thing. The fact is that we're talking of the whole IMEC, and we're not really looking at the fact that Israel has increasingly started, I mean, its plans seem to be moving towards Asia Pacific. Much of its defense exports, for example, I think 23% last year was to the Asia Pacific countries. Major deals with Vietnam, major deals with a bunch of countries here where India comes in very useful as a base for exports. So there is more to this than
no, surely economic and defense-related, issues would be at the very top. I do want to go across to Ambassador also joining us, but from other than that, the messaging that the Indian Prime Minister is sending is very critical, right? And this messaging, I don't think would have come if he didn't have a vision of where this India-Israel relationship was going, vis-a-vis and in comparison to what it was. Yes, it has already changed, but I think he has a very long-term vision, and he is willing to shun maybe some of the inhibitions of the so-called Muslim population inhibitions in India, is my sense. The inhibitions that used to come because of the Muslim populations in India.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shivani, for having me. You're very right. I think, number one, as you mentioned about, that is the question of hyphenation. If you are sensitive to what one of the communities in India is going to look upon this. But you look at it, there are so many other Muslim countries that have also normalized their relations with Israel. So in that sense, we have both in terms of our foreign policy, matrix of strategic autonomy and multi-alignment. We look at where our interests are, are anchored, and that is how we move forward on those areas. So we have good relations with Palestine. In fact, you would recall that when we had this meeting with the Gulf countries, with the Arab foreign ministers recently, it was in fact the Palestine representative who came up to India and who said, please connect with Israel and try to sort out our differences with them. So, as far as having confidence of the Palestinians and also working with Israel, I don't think there is any problem as far as that is concerned. As far as this Hexagon is concerned, India has never gone into any defense alliance relationship. I think we need to be clear about that. We might have sort of, different elements of trilaterals, minilaterals, etc. I think this is too new a thing that has come in front of us. We really need to have a good understanding, dive deep into it, understand what it is. Because, we need to recognize we have excellent relations with the Gulf countries. We have 9 million people. We have, in terms of our investments coming into our country, it is about, from UAE, Saudi Arabia, $75 billion of investment that are coming. in terms of trading partners, the United Arab Emirates is the third largest trading partner for India. Saudi Arabia is the fourth largest.
But if Pakistan and Turkey can do some sort of a defense strategic alliance, can India not do as a counter to that?
No, I think definitely India can do, but we will really have to get deep into it, find the nitty-gritty. Because if you are first, Israel will also have to sort out its relations with some of the countries. Abraham Accords are there for 4 countries. I think the most critical of the relationship would be Israel's relation with Saudi Arabia. That has to normalize in some way or the other.
Before anything can proceed.
Yeah, so that these countries don't feel that what India is doing with Israel is against the interests of those countries. As Israel has portrayed it. How has Israel portrayed it? As it's an anti-Sunni axis. It's an anti-Shia axis. So, who
that messaging India would not like to say.
That is definitely because, we have good relations with all those countries.
Most of these countries.
And not only good relations, diplomatic relations, good strategic partnership. Because now these countries no longer see India through the prism of Pakistan. They see India as an independent actor, as an independent player that they want to
I think one thing we can all agree on is that the stature of India and the vying of India as wanting the country in their corner. I think every country wants, to some extent, to have India in its corner, because that lends a lot of credence and not just heft, but also balance to whatever is that country or that bloc aiming to achieve. That is certainly happening. But Major Dan, I want to come to you one more time. If you leave this alliance issue aside, because it could be tricky, it may be something that the two leaders may thrash out behind cameras and not much will happen otherwise. On camera and on paper, what are your big expectations on the defense front?
See, like I
said, someone said, I'll go to Major Dan. Yeah, I'll come back to you. Yes.
Yeah. I just want to relate to something that the previous speaker, the ambassador, said here, and that Israel has never tried to portray, this alliance, which is from an Israeli point of view. It doesn't need to be from an Indian point of view. This is how Israel is looking at the region with a hexagonal shape to the northwest, to the southwest, to the east, to the further east, and into countries into Asia we haven't talked about. And certainly it's nothing against the Arab world, it's nothing against the Sunni world. If anything, Israel only ever talks about the radicalized Shia resistance axis and not the Shia world broadly. Israel would be more than delighted to expand the Abraham Accords and have growing relationships with every country in the region. That is Israel's key foreign policy goal. I think it behooves India very well to maintain this independent ability to form relationships. For too long, the region, the world, especially this part of the world here, where in West Asia where I sit, has been trapped in these expected alliances. And so for India to be an independent actor, I think it certainly serves India's interest, but I think it serves the region's interest here. What we can expect and what we're looking at, this has been termed as going from a strategic relationship to a special strategic relationship. And so the things that I've been reading about, the things that I've been hearing is, of course, access to even more advanced Israeli defense capabilities, especially in the field of missile defense and aerial defense, not just the Iron Dome, but now we're talking about the Iron Beam, which is Israel's laser-based upcoming missile defense interceptor. And of course, as India has to deal with such threats from its neighbors, these are things that can only serve stability and India's defense. There's been talk, and I've seen transferring the production of certain Israeli capabilities to India. And so that kind of upgrade of the strategic relationships would involve an understanding and maybe agreements that as Europe is becoming less of a reliable ally for Israel, and you mentioned the shift to Asia, I think we can see India taking that strategic place and standing closer by Israel's side as it is, once it could be once again in the future attacked by a number of enemies around the region.
Okay, all right. I have limited time. I'll give it 30 seconds to all of our studio guests. Tarakarta, before the PM speaks, your big expectation on what India should achieve from this visit.
like I said, see, they have one problem, the Israeli defense industries. Much of it is tied to the US. There's very strong US investment there. So that's why you're talking of the Iron Beam rather than the Iron Dome, which is entirely US financed. But nonetheless, in that last, like I said earlier, as Operation Sindoor gets its next anniversary, the terrorism threat is rising. We need what I can call safe cities. That involves your FCR, it involves data mining, it involves a bunch of technology which can detect threats inside. We've got plenty of stuff to detect threats outside. That is the trend. Now we have to look inwards.
Yeah, I think the modern warfare is also changing. And in that, Major General, Israel is a leader, right? In terms of intelligence, in terms of technology.
Let me tell you, India has a threat from China and Pakistan. I call it Pak Chai now. The new, I'm giving you the word, right? And Israel and China also have got technology cooperation, by the way. China also has taken weapons from Israel. Israel also takes. So let's not get carried away. All that, and future wars will be standalone war. India will have to fight its war. India will have to fight its insurgency. India will have to fight its own militancy, own terrorism. All that the countries can give you is some intelligence inputs, which India is quite capable as far as the present situation is concerned. But and second issue, let me tell you, all that Israel is doing is there are technologies, niche technologies, which they have got in collaboration with America, and these so far have been exported to us by them. We have imported them, right? These joint production, like we have got a joint production of QRSAM going on, like this has to transform into larger production because there's a $8-10 billion trade between us. They do not have any major natural resources. We have got very little to export there, let's be very clear. I mean, you know, the thing is that technologies into defense fields are niche. Bell is already cooperating. I named 3 or 4. We already have the Barak missile, we already have the Huron, they all have outlived their life, their technology.
Okay, all right.
Future technologies, we need
No, so I
cooperation,
think
joint production.
one of our guests mentioned earlier, they don't have the scale. What India has is the scale, and I think they are looking for that while we are looking for tech transfer. So your final 30 seconds.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're very right. You know, we have the scale and we have then the possibility of this cooperation, collaboration going out to the world. You know, it's not only for the domestic market here. And that will be a win-win proposition for both of them. If you also permit, Shivani, one last comment on this hexagon. You know what the gentleman said? If we are able to focus that our target, our objective is to deal with extremist, radical, militant elements and not the, the whole Shia world. Because, when you talk about the Shia world, it is, you are focusing on Hezbollah and that's what Israel is doing, on Hezbollah and Houthis. But then, there are others in Bahrain, etc., etc. So we need to target, we need to, the narrative has to be such that it does not sort of, it's not an omnibus, sort of an umbrella which captures everyone.
Okay, all right. I do thank all of our guests for joining us and also Major Dan joining us as well. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about what's happening at home. As the Prime Minister is on his visit to Israel, politics back home is continuing to cast a shadow. The opposition, particularly the Congress party, has already launched a series of sharp attacks, questioning both the timing and the optics of this visit. So Congress says the Prime Minister is visiting Israel despite ongoing attacks on Gaza. They have also flagged concerns that Israel may be planning strikes on Iran with US support, as the entire world is talking about. Third, the opposition says that this is highlighting Benjamin Netanyahu's corruption charges that he's facing, questioning the choice of partner in this high-profile visit. And they have also accused the Modi government of abandoning the Palestinian cause. The key question, though, is can India leverage its global diplomacy in Israel to strengthen its strategic influence, even as domestic politics debates the visit?
भारत के प्रधानमंत्री जी वर्तमान के साथ साथ अतीत भी साथ लेके जाएंगे, जो गांधी की सोच थी, नेहरू की सोच थी। इनफैक्ट अगर मैं कहूं तो गांधी को बहुत क्लैरिटी थी पैलेस्टीन को लेकर के, तो जाहिर तौर पर प्रधानमंत्री जी उसके हवाले से ही अपनी बात रखेंगे। उम्मीद
इजराइल क्या दे देगा भारत को? इजराइल क्या दे देगा? इजराइल तो हमारा कभी था, ना है, ना होगा। लेकिन प्रधानमंत्री जी चूंकि कमजोर हैं, उनमें इतना साहस नहीं है। प्रधानमंत्री जी जा रहे हैं, अगर ज़रा सी भी नैतिकता और साहस हो तो गाज़ा के अंदर मारे गए मासूम बच्चों के बारे में बात करें.
There are certain things which we have to. At this time, going to Israel and addressing the Knesset, when the Israelis are against the Prime Minister Netanyahu, they are protesting against him. They want him out. I don't think is the right time for the Prime Minister of India to visit a place.
Let's go across to our guest. Joining us, Rajat Sethi, political analyst, and Vivek Srivastava, leader of the left politics, is also joining us. Vivek, I want to understand from you, what really is the problem here? I mean, surely most of the country has moved on from the fact that we can't hyphenate Palestine, Israel anymore. Our relations have expanded and have differentiated. But is this just politics, criticizing the visit, bringing domestic Israeli issues into it? I mean, every country has domestic issues.
See, happy Ramzan, and happy Ramzan to all the people in this country, and my best wishes. And it's a great gift on Ramzan that the Prime Minister has given to the Muslim world, the Indian Muslims as well as the Muslims abroad. He has abandoned the traditional Palestinian cause started by Jawaharlal Nehru when we did not allow Israel to have a full-fledged embassy in this country. It was only in the 1990s when Dr. Manmohan Singh said, "Aap ek embassy bana sakte hain." The cause which the former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee endorsed when he stood with Palestine and said, "This is it." I mean, we are becoming a colony of the Americans and the Israelis. What Trump says, Modi does. If Trump likes Netanyahu, even if the Israelis don't, my Prime Minister says, I will also like him. I will visit him. Because this is what Mr. Trump has told. Jai Chand is the right word for the BJP right now. This government is
Vivek Srivastava, in the Prime Minister Narendra Modi expanded relationships with Israel well before Trump became the president. Come on. Don't relate it to Donald Trump.
No. The present visit is absolutely under pressure. The Epstein files, we also know that he went to Israel, and as per the rumors and no clarification is coming from the government, he met the Israelis and song and dance the convention. I don't want to go into those dirty details.
But he went to Israel first 10 years ago. At that time, it was even more shocking than it is today.
We do not support the Indian visit of my Prime Minister to Israel. Netanyahu go back is what we did when he came to India last time. And the communists and our cadre surrounded. And we said, ask this man to go back. He's a fascist, he's a mass murderer, and Israel has become a terror state under him. And one more thing before I close my call. 1971, when we made Bangladesh, the Organization of Islamic Countries was going to pass a resolution against India. We are not a Muslim country or an Islamic country. We were represented on the request of Mrs. Indira Gandhi by none other than the PLO chief Yasser Arafat, who battled for India, and no resolution was passed against us. This is our history. I mean, what the Prime Minister is trying to achieve, nobody knows. Not even the BJP.
You're right about what you talk about history, but you know, the world has moved on. India cannot be siloed in the manner it was in the 1970s and 80s.
Not at the cost of dead children and dead women.
One second.
Not at the cost of dead children.
Yeah, there were dead children and dead women in Israel too. You can't just wipe that out. You can't talk about one dead and you can't talk about one dead in one country alone. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. Rajat Sethi, please respond to this. The optics of this, could this be difficult for the Narendra Modi government to handle?
Again, I mean, if we are having a serious conversation, then we can get into the serious aspects of diplomacy. But clearly here, the fellow panelists here wants that our Prime Minister should only go to China because that is the only communist country left. I mean, foreign policy, thankfully, is not run by ideologues like him. It is run by a professional bureaucracy. A lot of those professional bureaucrats at the helm have been the ones who've been elected and selected into the system of UPSC when Congress was in power. So at least give them some credence that they have thought through what is there for India, what is there that we can get. There are some very important defense deals which are being signed. It is important that we ensure that from a security standpoint, whatever we can get hold of, we should get hold and integrate at the fastest level. We are currently inside an active operation. Operation Sindoor is still active. We require to fill in whatever gaps are there in our defense systems and offense systems. And I believe Prime Minister is on a mission to do that. This is no time for petty ideology and petty politics. And I'm happy that people are not listening to Marx. Marx is long dead. That is the only person which is dead in this conversation. Nobody wants to go back to Marxism. The country has clearly
That's your
moved on,
opinion.
and I believe there is far more important issues at stake, and country's future is at stake. And Prime Minister is the one who's leading it, keeping the India's interests, both defense interests and the technological interests in mind.
No, also Vivek mentioned that
I'll tell you.
Sir, once again, Vivek, once again, you did mention the Palestinian cause, and you see this as an abandonment of the Palestinian cause. On record, of course, the Indian government's position, Rajat, has been entirely different. They want, of course, a resolution for the Palestinians. They want the war or the atrocities to stop. They also want a two-state solution. India has always stood by that. So beyond that, is it necessary for India to carry a burden to the extent where it cannot have relationship with Israel?
It's
Rajat
cosmetics
first.
and nothing else.
Rajat first, and then I'll come to you, Vivek.
So, Shivani ji, honestly, if you look at how India's position has been at United Nations, various voting scenarios, India has opposed wherever a solution minus the two-state solution was put forth at the UN level. India went against and voted against US also, by the way.
Yes.
US and Israel were voting together on that cause. India went against that. So look at, forget India. Even the Muslim countries are now ensuring that there is a line of communication and a line of close collaboration with the Israelis. Right now, the Muslim world is also divided on the Shia-Sunni axis. Iran is being targeted because it is a Shia country, and Israel claims that it has a far better relationship with the Sunni countries. It is far more complex, much more complex than the communists of today's day and age will understand. So let us leave it to the experts to sort of take a call on this. And whereas India's moral position says that has always been consistent, but it is not going to come at the cost of our own strategic imperatives whenever and wherever needed.
Vivek.
Yeah. Now I'll reply. I'll reply first on the diplomacy of this nation. Donald Trump says we made the two boys sit down and have a ceasefire. My Prime Minister is silent. Donald Trump says we have already talked to Modi and we are going to reduce the tariff by 18%. He has agreed not to buy the Russian oil. My Prime Minister doesn't respond. Donald Trump says India is going to buy oil, Venezuelan oil, the country we annexed, whose Prime Minister was, the President was kidnapped right from his bedroom. India will buy that oil. It's not really bothered. And it is going to be through us, the Americans. My Prime Minister doesn't respond. So much so for the diplomats of this nation. That is what you are doing. You don't have the cheek to actually answer back. You are becoming a student of the Americans. But yeah, when America said 50% tariff, you went running to the communist lobby. You started talking to North Korea. There were talks of him being invited on the Republic Day. The Prime Minister visited China. Cubans were talked off. So don't try to say that you don't even know what is communism, and it is across the world. And our stand is very clear. Are you trying to say, sitting over here, Mr. Rajat Sethi, that Mr. Vajpayee, Mr. Nehru, Mr. Narasimha Rao, and all these stalwart prime ministers of whatever be the party, including the BJP, and the diplomats and the foreign ministers, इन्हें Shia Sunni politics ही नहीं पता थी. They did not know what is the Shia Sunni
Vivek
politics.
Srivastava, you've gone completely off track. You know, whatever is the issue with the India-US tariff situation or the trade deal, let's keep that separate a little bit. Not all of what you stated is correct.
No, it can't be separate. It is all linked up. It's all linked to Epstein.
No, it's not linked because the Israel-Palestinian cause issue has been raised in India for...
It's not just Palestine.
No, you raised the Palestinian cause issue now.
You are saying it.
No, don't run away from it.
You are selling the country.
I asked a simple question. How long is India to be burdened with the so-called Palestinian problem or Palestinian cause?
No, it is not so-called. If you are a great nation, if you have a Sanskriti, if you say that yes, we are a great nation, you are trying to say, सड़क से जा रहे हैं साहब, एक आदमी सड़क पे पड़ा है, forget about it. Just keep driving straight. How does it matter? That's not the way life goes. We had a stand. We are India. And we had a stand and we said, these are the poor people of Palestine. The map of Palestine in 1948, 1966, and now today 2026. Please go and check it out. The way Israel has taken up all the land from the Arab people. And India raised a voice. Each one of our prime ministers raised a voice, except Narendra Modi, who came in 2014. They have their own way of diplomacy, which nobody understands. And finally, Jaychans is what I'm calling the BJP. One person is buying, and that is Netanyahu, and another gentleman is selling, and that is my prime minister. And who is buying what? Nobody knows. It is this nation which is being sold. Imperialism is coming back. It's back to the East India Company days. Communism, I mean, come on, have the cheek. There are capitalist countries like Germany also. There is Switzerland. There are people who stand upright, who answer back. There is Japan. Even China is trading.
So we did
But here we
did an FTA with
we
the
have no
UK
integrity.
also. We did a deal with Europe also just now. It's
You
not
have
like we are not
100%
doing a
FDI.
deal with others as well, right? We deal with everybody. In fact, you are outlining the very point that I think is the underlying philosophy of the Indian government currently. Rajat, you can respond to this. I'm not sure whether this is a communism versus imperialism issue. That's a separate debate. Whether this is an Israel-Palestine issue, that's a separate debate. This is about India per se and its own outlook to the world. India is also not the India of it was in 1970s.
India is being sold.
So one
India is
second,
being sold.
sir. Vivek, you don't need to do sloganeering over me. Come on, you had your say. Now don't do sloganeering over me. This is not an India of 1970s, 80s. This is an India that has dehyphenated itself from Pakistan. That's the most important thing in the global eye. Plus, it has economic heft today. It has both economic and military heft today. It has to use it. You can't be a global power unless you forge alliances.
Unless you become a stooge of the Americans.
That's your way of looking at it. You've
go
looked
down
at
to
it
Donald
like this
Trump
for the
and
last
agree to
50
what he
years.
says.
I'm sorry to that. Don't make me go back to what communists were up to when India was fighting China. Because I'm not discussing communism and imperialism today.
It's
but
not
don't
about
make me.
communists, it's about the nation.
Rajat Sethi, we have some visuals also of the Prime Minister enjoying some cultural program coming in. This is live from Tel Aviv. We are witnessing some Indian classical dances being conducted in the presence of the Prime Minister. He seems to be meeting some of the diaspora as well. The Prime Minister there, I think, enjoying a performance that is being put jointly by possibly Indian origin and Israeli origin members. Seems to be meeting some students here as well. So a lot of diaspora meeting will of course take place. There are many people, many voices that we've been bringing you in the run-up to this visit, where there were people of Indian origin and others who were really looking forward to this visit. In fact, many of the Israeli guests that we've been speaking to have mentioned how after Donald Trump, Prime Minister Narendra Modi might be the most known foreign leader in Israel. And certainly his friendship with Bibi Netanyahu is also very well known. As we keep these visuals on our screen, yes, Rajat, I want to give you a final minute to respond to what we were discussing.
See, well, Shivani, the only point that I want to mention here is that thank God that our practitioners of the foreign policy are not blinded by ideology. They see what is there in India's interest and they take a call accordingly. And I think we should allow them the freedom of space. There is a reason why the communists of our country are sitting in opposition, are largely obliterated from the scene, from the political scene of this country.
No, don't comment on me. You can say Donald Trump Zindabad. You can say that. You can say Donald Trump Zindabad. आप बोल दीजिए ना सर, Donald Trump Zindabad.
Again, there is a reason why communists of this country have, as a species, have ended up in museum. There is a reason.
That is your
foreign policy is foreign policy is the prerogative of the government, and the people of this country have mandated the Prime Minister to take care of this country, take care of the country's interests, and he's using every power.
Vivek, not like this. Vivek, let's not speak over each other. He didn't speak over you. But Rajat, I have a question for you. Rajat, I do have a question for you, very quickly, if you can. You know, this issue about how the Muslim population in India will look at our relationship with Israel vis-a-vis the Palestinian issue or any other issue, West Asia issue right now, for example. Because Israel could well be part of a US military action against Iran, and Iran has very good relationships with India. But how long do we have to keep looking at it from the point of view of what Indian Muslims will think about this?
No, that is what I'm saying. Even on the Iranian question, India has a very interesting position on that. It is in far more nuanced than what you want to bring out through these kind of discussions. It is a very nuanced position, and India has done every bit to explain this position even to the Western powers for all this time. This communication behind
Are you with Israel or
I am
Iran?
sure.
So one by one.
Vivek,
one by one. Vivek,
one line question. Are we with
Iran
Iran or Israel?
Level than you can ever conjure up.
Sir,
or your entire communist monkeys can ever do that. So keep quiet.
Okay, one by one. Vivek, hold on. Rajat only.
I asked a single line question. Are we with Israel or Iran?
Can I just have Rajat only?
He needs to mute it.
Go ahead, Rajat.
Shivani ji, again, it is not, people spend their lifetimes researching and understanding the nuances in the relationship. You don't have to pick sides. You have to only pick one side, which is the country's side. Country's interests are paramount. We have made investments into Iran, into the Chabahar port, and access into a landlocked country like Afghanistan.
In any case, India
so we need to protect the interests of the country first.
No, in any case, India is non-aligned, right? To even suggest that India should pick Iran over Israel is also a fallacy. I don't think that is ever India's position either, because India has been non-aligned in these issues. But I've run out of time. I do thank both of our guests for joining us. Our coverage on the Prime Minister's visit will continue after a very short break. Stay with us. Stay with me. I also want to just introduce some of our other guests who are joining us, some of them from Israel and our domestic guests as well. Lev Aaron is senior journalist, is joining us. Yossi Kuperwasser is Israeli intelligence and security expert. Deepak Vora, former Indian diplomat, also with us. And of course, Ben David will continue with us. So I want to begin with Yossi Kuperwasser first, because we're talking about a very, very critical time in global diplomacy. We're seeing all the warning signs coming in as far as an impending strike against Iran is concerned. With, the Israeli Prime Minister talked about a hexagonal alliance in which India, Israel both will play a key role. How do you look at this? Exactly what are the key alliances needed as we move forward?
Thank you for having me.
My friend, I have limited time, so I will go down. I see you have many panelists.
Extremely important for Israeli architecture of the Middle East and the region beyond the Middle East. And I think that in this respect, even though our focus today is, of course, on Iran and the potential for an escalation with Iran due to the difficulty to reach an agreement between the United States and Tehran, we still attribute a lot of importance to this visit, because we believe that this is going to help us structure new alliances between us and the neighbors that we have here, and especially with India playing a major role. And we are looking forward to the establishment of the IMEC corridor and other elements that would make this from a wish into reality. And that's what we are looking for. And I would say in this respect, the timing is extremely interesting, because it's proof of the special relations. We raised the level of the relationships with Turkey, with India to a new stage. And the fact that we have at this specific time, when everybody here is bracing for some sort of a flare-up between the United States and Iran, it's extremely important that we have this visit. We trust, I think, this sort of intimacy between Israel and India that goes beyond the issues of security and technology and all the other economic relationships. These are all extremely important, but it's beyond that. It's the feeling that we have a friend.
Yeah.
And Israel is really respect and are seeking for such friendships, and this is the friendship we get from India.
Right. I mean, maybe Yossi could talk a little more about specifically Prime Minister Netanyahu seeing Israel and India as the cornerstone of this regional, or even beyond the region, alliance against radical Islam. He even talked about bringing in African states, other Middle Eastern countries, and Israel and India really being the sort of cornerstone of that alliance.
Yes, Israel and India are the cornerstone of this alliance, but of course there's a role there for the Greek and the Cypriots. There's a role for African countries, Morocco and the Somaliland that we have now established a new relationship with. But many others, Tanzania and Uganda and others that cooperate with Israel very closely. There is room for the former Soviet Union republics like Kazakhstan that just joined the Abraham Accords, and of course for the Arab members of this alliance, who are mainly the UAE and Arab Emirates and Bahrain, and we hope that this is going to catch more participants. We sincerely hope that we shall see Saudi Arabia at one point join in. And who knows, maybe there is going to be a change in the regime in Iran, and we shall see Iran joining in. That would be a dream come true. That's definitely going to form a new Middle East, a new architecture. And we have to remember what happened ever since October 7th. We are still on the 7th of October trauma. But what happened after 7th of October was a real change in the structure of the Middle East. The evil axis of evil led by Iran was sort of collapsing. Let's say it is not yet collapsed, but it is collapsing, lost much of its power. And this enables those who seek stability and security to have more influence on how the Middle East looks like and operates. And India, of course, is a partner for such a direction of the Middle East, and is going to gain a lot by cooperating with Israel and the other members of this axis.
Yeah. No, interesting how you put it. You're talking about a revamped Middle East. What role will India play in this? I think Deepak Vora will have a few comments on that, because we're talking about also a country here, Iran, where Kalev, India has very deep ties and historic ties with. And whatever happens in Iran has huge consequences back home for India as well. And there is an entire domestic audience here as well. And already some of it is playing out. But, I do want to go across to Lev Aaron as well, the senior journalist from Israel joining us. I want to understand from you, Lev, what are the sentiments in Israel about an impending conflict with Iran, US-Israel on one side, Iran on the other? Does the public welcome this? Do they have the appetite for this? We are hearing voices in US that may not, be fully in agreement because this has potentials to destabilize the region. We don't know how long it takes before things settle down. So what are the sentiments on ground as far as the public is concerned?
Okay, let's start with Modi. First of all, Modi is the most popular Asian leader in Israel. Everybody knows Modi. And Israel also knows that as far as Iran is concerned, Israel and India is not exactly on the same page. Of course, in Israel, there is big appetite to solve the Iranian problem, and we all hope that right after Modi goes back to India, we will see some kind of solution in Iran. But Netanyahu was very smart in even if Iran problem is solved, still we have Pakistan.
Namaste, Jai Hind, Vande Mataram. I'm Anand Narasimhan and you're on the right stand. And it's a blanket coverage of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's landmark and historic visit to Israel. In a short while from now, he will be addressing the Israel Parliament, the Knesset, in some time. Now, this visit marks far more than routine diplomatic engagement. It actually reflects steady elevation of the Bharat-Israel ties into multi-dimensional strategic partnership. Now, coming at a time of heightened tensions in West Asia between Iran and the United States, the visit underscores Bharat's effort to deepen critical partnerships while carefully navigating an increasingly volatile regional landscape. Now, over the past 3 decades, Bharat and Israel have transformed their relationship from cautious engagement to robust strategic cooperation. Defense remains the backbone of this partnership. Israel is among Bharat's top defense suppliers, providing advanced systems ranging from drones and surveillance technologies to missile defense platforms. The relationship has evolved beyond a buyer-seller dynamic. Increasingly, both sides are focused on joint research, co-development and co-production under Bharat's push for defense indigenization. In an era marked by shifting security threats and rapid technological change, Israel's expertise in high-end military innovation complements Bharat's scale, manpower and expanding industrial base. Now, in this context, cooperation in the air and missile defense has acquired particular urgency. Bharat's indigenous air defense modernization efforts, such as the Sudarshan Air Defense Vision, aims to create a robust, multi-tier, graded response system, a shield capable of intercepting threats. Israeli systems like the Iron Dome offer valuable operational lessons in countering short-range rockets and unmanned aerial threats. Similarly, Israel's next-gen interceptor technologies, including the Icebreaker missile system designed for precision long-range strike capabilities with advanced guidance, aligns with Bharat's future requirements for standoff deterrence and high-accuracy targeting. Now, for Bharat, these systems will be force multipliers in the coming decades. Trade and economic cooperation form the second pillar of this relationship. Bilateral trade, once modest and limited largely to diamonds and defense, has diversified into sectors such as IT, pharmaceuticals, and water management. Negotiations towards a free trade agreement reflects recognition that economic interdependence must accompany strategic alignment. Israel's reputation as a startup nation, driven by cutting-edge research in artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and advanced manufacturing, aligns well with Bharat's ambitions to become a global innovation and technology hub. Agriculture and water management represent another vital dimension of cooperation. Israeli expertise in drip irrigation, desert agriculture, and water recycling has already made a tangible impact in several Indian states through the centers of excellence and technology sharing initiatives. Now, the broader geopolitical context lends additional weight to the visit. Tensions between Iran and the United States have heightened uncertainty in the entire West Asia region, and Israel is right bang in the middle of this entire brewing conflict. An escalation carries direct implications for Bharat, which depends heavily on energy imports from the Gulf and maintains a large diaspora in the region. At the same time, Israel views Iran as a principal security concern under the current regime. Israel repeatedly says, we don't have a problem with the common Iranians. We have a problem with this entire Ayatollah regime. Now, by engaging Israel at a high level, while continuing dialogue with other regional actors, Bharat demonstrates its commitment to strategic autonomy. It seeks partnership with